10 tips to transform your gardens in The Sims 4. I love building cool houses in The Sims 4, but you just can't always plunk down a house randomly on a lot, but you need to fuse it with the surrounding world and environment. To do so, creating the perfect garden area can really make the difference and help you sell the look. Let's dive in. Here are my 10 tips to better your landscaping skills in The Sims 4. Number 1. Plan out your garden first. Planning is your friend when you have to landscape. I always try and configure the best location for plants even before starting. It's important to create a garden that fits your creation's aesthetics and style, like modern houses might require a cleaner front yard, while suburban homes could have more manicured gardens with flowers and bushes. There are some obvious areas that you might want to plan for, like the front and back entrances, the edges of the garden area, flower beds, the size of the house, and much more. You don't have to plan perfectly, but always have a rough idea of what you want to create. Number 2. Choose the right type of plants for the world you're building in. We have a handful of different worlds where you can build in The Sims 4. From the dry plains of Oasis Springs to the rainy Brindleton Bay, each world has its own unique plant life and style. I suggest you try and match your lot's landscaping to the surrounding world, so take your time to check out what kind of plants, what kind of flowers are around. If you're building in a desert world, you can use cacti, dry bushes, palms, thick grass. Where you are in a greener world, you can add flowers and gorgeous trees. Seeing lush forest plants in the middle of the city or on top of Mount Komorebi can kinda look weird, so be careful. Number 3. Pick a couple of flower types to use over and over again to make it more cohesive. This is definitely something that I learned to do through trial and error. When I first started building in The Sims, I used all the plants that I could, not caring for a style or any kind of color scheme. But I slowly realized that while the full flower look can work for certain homes, most houses need some more preparation and thought, even for the plants you want in the front garden. While green bushes can be mixed more randomly, I usually like to take a couple flower types and use them everywhere for a more cohesive garden. Number 4. Experiment with the terrain tools. Thanks to an update a while ago, terrain tools were added to the build mode of The Sims 4. I know some people are still scared to take on the job, but adding some terrain variation to your game can really make the difference. A little trick I like to do to have a more varied backyard is to create a raised grass area using flooring and blending it with some terrain adjustments. So start messing about with the terrain tools and see what you can come up with. And don't worry, you can always hit the button at the top of the screen and flatten the lot. Number 5. Use a fence, even just in some spots. Some creators when building forget the power that a nice fence has. Having a fence in front or on the sides or at the back of your house is the perfect way to frame the space. A tall, imposing fence with a big gate can transform a nice big house in a luxurious mansion. A nice picket fence can make a family home cozier and more inviting. You can also use fences to separate spaces, protect pools, create special areas, and there are so many amazing styles you can choose from. Number 6. Hedges can help separate spaces. If you're still on the fence about fences, see what I did there, you can always separate your spaces using bushes. There are a couple of great bushes in the Sims 4 base game that are incredibly versatile and work perfectly for this task. Just plop a bunch of them, slide them together, and separate your areas for a nice, lush look for your gardens. There's also a couple of handy fences that are made to look like bushes that are perfect to break up a long fence as a colorful alternative. Number 7. Scale up and down items and move them freely. There's an amazing simple trick that can elevate your landscaping job. If you click on a bush, or a flower bed, or a tree, or a rock, before placing it down, press Shift plus the right square bracket key or the left square bracket key and be amazed. With a simple trick, you can scale up and down any object you want in the game, and that's perfect for landscaping. Since in real life, not all the plants grow at the same speed, you can add some cool variety with smaller bushes or bigger trees. And don't forget to press Alt when placing items so that you can move them freely from the grid. Number 8. Debug and cheats. A very important aspect of playing The Sims is, well, cheating. And there are a couple of cool cheat codes you can put in your game that are the absolute best for landscaping. In order to do so, press Ctrl-Shift-C and you'll see a white box pop up in the top left corner. That's the cheat box where you can add every cheat your heart desires. My personal favorite is bb.moveObjectsOn, which lets you place item clipping into other things, and it's perfect to slot bushes into each other, make them clip with trees, and make the landscaping look super realistic. Another couple cheats you can use are bb.showHiddenObjects and bb.showLiveEditObjects. These two let you access a secret catalog of items that are not usable normally, and there are so many incredible items you can add to your gardens and front yards. It's a bit of a tedious work unless you use some mods, but it's a very useful tool. Number 9. Verticality is important. Verticality is an important concept to remember when you're landscaping. Sometimes just plain grass looks good, but when you want to go all out with your gardens, don't forget to make it make sense. Having just trees strewn about, it's gonna look a little bit weird, so I always suggest to add some bushes underneath or taller grass and flowers. Even the bushes in game are at different heights, so be mindful where you place them. Having a random tall bush by itself doesn't make much sense, but if you surround it with lower greenery and flowers, it looks like it belongs there. Number 10. Don't forget the terrain painting. This final tip is probably the most important. When you're done landscaping, creating tile areas, adding pools, fountains, kids' toys, you need to add terrain painting. There's a neat catalog of different paints and textures that you can use to transform your gardens and make them look even more realistic. I personally love to add a kind of faded dirt texture around the house, near tiled spaces, and under any objects in the garden. It makes sense to have less grass where there's less sunlight or where Sim walk and wear out the grass. That's why I like to do the same thing under swings or monkey bars. And this is it. These were my 10 landscaping tips that I learned by building in The Sims 4 through the years. I hope this video was useful and that you learned something. Now go and create the prettiest gardens and parks ever. Don't forget to be creative and take risks. Bye bye!